Hello and welcome to English by Mind Training. I am your host, Najaf Abbasi.
Today, we have a very special story for you.
Once upon a time, in a small town surrounded by fields and dusty roads, lived a man named Rashid. Rashid was a simple man, honest and hardworking. Every morning, before the sun had even risen, he would leave his small home to work in the fields. The work was exhausting, and the sun often left his skin sunburned and his hands calloused, yet he never complained. Rashid's home life was not easy. He lived with his wife, 2 children, and his aging mother. His wife was kind, but worried constantly about money. His children were young and playful, but they often argued and added to his stress. His mother, once full of energy, now demanded constant care. Every day, Rashid returned home tired, carrying not just the weight of his labor, but also the worries of his family. Despite his struggles, Rashid had a dream. He wanted his children and the children of his town to have better lives. He believed education was the key to escaping poverty and hardship. So, every evening after a long day in the fields, Rashid would clean himself, eat a simple meal, and then sit with the neighborhood children to teach them basic reading and writing. One day, while teaching his students under the shade of a large banyan tree, Rashid noticed a boy named Imran, who looked frustrated and tired. Imran was struggling with reading, and every mistake he made seemed to make him more discouraged. Rashid gently placed his hand on Imran's shoulder and said, "Do not worry about mistakes. Every mistake is a step toward learning. If you study now, life will be easier for you later." Rashid's words were not just lessons, they were life advice, shaped by his own experiences. He would tell stories from his life about the early mornings in the fields, the endless work, and the nights when he worried if there would be enough food for his family. "If I had studied more when I was young," he said to his students, "I might have found work that was easier, work that lets you breathe instead of breaking your back every day. Education is the ladder out of a hard life." The children listened with wide eyes. They did not just hear words, they felt the struggle behind them. They saw a man who worked with his hands and taught with his heart. Rashid's own children, Aisha and Omar, sometimes didn't understand their father. They saw him always tired and strict about studying. "Why can't he just rest?" Omar once asked his sister. But Rashid's wisdom was deep. He knew that if he did not guide them, the hardships he faced would continue for the next generation. One evening, after a particularly long day in the fields, Rashid sat outside with his students. The sky was painted with shades of orange and pink. He said, "Life is not always fair. Sometimes it will hit you with difficulties. But if you prepare yourself with knowledge and patience, you can face anything." He told them about the value of hard work, honesty, and determination. Months passed, and Rashid's lessons began to bear fruit. Imran, once struggling to read simple words, could now read stories aloud. Aisha and Omar started taking their studies seriously. Rashid noticed a change in his students, too. They were more confident, more curious, and more willing to help each other. One day, a young man came to Rashid with tears in his eyes. It was Jamal, a former student who had moved to the city for work. He said, "Sir, I got my first salary today, and I remembered all the lessons you taught me. I want to help my younger siblings study so that they don't have to struggle like me." Rashid felt a warmth in his heart. All the long days, all the exhaustion, all the worry, it was worth it. His struggles had created ripples in the lives of others. But Rashid's life was not without challenges. There were days when he felt completely overwhelmed. Bills piled up, his mother fell ill, and sometimes he wondered if his efforts were enough. On such nights, he would look at the small candle on his table and remember why he kept going. Every word he taught, every life he touched, was a small light against the darkness of hardship. Rashid realized that life's true value was not in wealth or comfort, but in making a difference, however small it may seem. He often reminded his students, "The world will not give you anything for free. But if you work hard, learn, and help others, you create your own opportunities. Struggle is temporary. Knowledge is forever. Years later, Rashid's village began to change. Children who once wandered the streets now went to school. Parents saw the value in education and supported their children. The town, once struggling and forgotten, slowly grew into a community of learners and dreamers. And Rashid, still working in the fields, smiled quietly to himself. He knew he had planted seeds that would grow long after he was gone. The moral of Rashid's story is simple but powerful. Life will always challenge you, but through hard work, education, and patience, you can rise above any hardship. Even when life feels heavy, the effort you put into learning and helping others creates a brighter future, not just for you, but for everyone around you.